Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137.
Hello, listeners, and Happy New Year. Nick here with your forecast for the weekend of January 17th, 2026. Friday. In the clouds trending towards in the clear, late under mostly cloudy skies. Slight chance of morning snow showers. Possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to 1 inch. High dipping to the upper single digits below early, then rising to the lower single digits above late. Wind northwest at 60 to 80 miles per hour with gusts up to 90 miles per hour early. 65 to 85 miles per hour with gusts up to 100 miles per hour midday, and 50 to 70 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour later. Wind chill 40 below to 50 below, rising to 25 below to 35 below. Friday night. In the clear, trending in and out of the clouds late under mostly cloudy skies. Slight chance of snow showers after midnight. Possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to less than 1 inch. Lows starting in the lower single digits above, rising to the upper single digits above. Wind, northwest, shifting southwest at 45 to 60 miles per hour early, rapidly decreasing to 20 to 35 miles per hour before midnight, then increasing to 40 to 55 miles per hour with gusts up to 65 miles per hour late. Wind chill 25 below to 35 below, rising to 15 below to 25 below. Saturday. Mostly in the clouds under mostly cloudy skies, trending into the clouds early with a chance of snow showers. Possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to 2 inches. High, mid-teens. Wind, southwest, shifting west at 40 to 55 miles per hour, decreasing to 35 to 50 miles per hour. Wind chill 15 below to 25 below, rising to 5 below to 15 below. So there's your forecast for the weekend. Hope everybody is having a good year, crushing some peaks. Take care out there, stay safe, happy hiking.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and beyond. Here are your hosts, Mike and Nick.
Recording on Squadcast. So welcome back, everybody. So this is episode 219. So I'm cracking a beer. I'm starting the year off.
Excellent.
Yeah, I picked up. Do you guys ever go to you go to Yaya, right? Nick, you've gone to that
occasionally.
store.
Occasionally, yeah, I'll stop in there and I've got food, and they have a pretty good beer selection there usually too. But I'll poke around.
Yeah, I got Reckless in there. Paul, you've gone to Yaya, right? Yaya's.
I haven't.
You haven't?
I haven't. I've heard great things of their pizza, but I've never been myself.
Yeah. Megan, have you ever gone there?
No, it's a brewery?
It's a you know, in New Hampshire they have those, I don't know what you call it. Like it's a roadside general store.
Like a general store kind of vibe.
Yeah.
They don't have like knickknacks and stuff like that, but it's like everything from like bait earthworms in the summer to like propane to like you can buy a sandwich there to like beer and order a pizza. Right. Just get everything.
A bicycle, you name it.
Exactly. It's it's a gas station, but like a general store with a deli and a so it is it's at that intersection of Route 3 and 302. Like if you take a right coming from Twin Mountain, you'll go to Bretton Woods, and if you take a left, you go to Bethlehem. So if you keep going straight, like you're going to go to like Cherry Mountain or loop back around to Appalachia, it's the first gas station on the right at that intersection. And yeah, it's like Nick said, they basically have everything. It's like gas, propane. They've got all kinds of good selections of beer in the cooler, and then you can get like an awesome steak and cheese sub and pizza. So it's got everything you want.
I love this impromptu ad for them.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to give them a shout out. So Yaya's. And I have a soft spot because my grandmother was a Yaya. So Yaya is Greek for grandmother. Okay. So I always get a kick out of that. So anyway.
It's not the one with the big wooden bear right out front, right?
No.
This one has
because that's my go-to.
The pizza's good. I don't know. I forget what that one's called. We can't give them a plug if anybody remembers. It's the one, Paul. It's like it's right where you're like if you went straight on 3 past that light, that where 302 is. It's like right on the right there. There's actually a post office there, and it's across the street almost from where there's like an old. I think there's an old railroad train. It's not an old cog. Maybe there's an old cog train.
Is right there in the corner.
Yeah, it's right across the street over there.
They do have I think they do have a black bear as you walk in the door. I think that they have a plastic or a wooden black bear as you walk in the door.
Okay, maybe.
So
I've definitely been here. I went with my aunt and we all got snacks post hike. It's a great spot. Okay, yeah. Now that I'm looking at the pictures on Google Maps.
Yeah, right. The closest thing I can describe is Kringle's, which just burnt down on 16. It's the same vibe. Right. So anyway, I got a good steak and cheese sub, but I also got Reckless Brewing. So that was the point of this whole discussion.
Take it back.
I have Clouded Judgment Reckless from
good stuff
from Yaya. So anyway, welcome to episode 219 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This is our first episode of 2026. This week, Meghan and Paul from the Alzheimer's Association join us to highlight their kickoff event of the 2026 48 Peaks Hike to Fight Alzheimer's event. So they've got this kickoff event coming up on February 7th at Spyglass Brewing in Nashua, and our friend Ty Gagne will be there. He's the guest of honor, so he'll share a live reading from The Lions of Winter and speak about how his father's dementia diagnosis impact his writing and family. Plus, we're going to be kicking off the new year with some hiking reminders on safety, volunteering, and some spring and summer events that are coming up. We will have updates on local New Hampshire outdoor-related news and some national news, including a hiker that was killed by a mountain lion, a man dealing with a black bear that is living underneath his house in the crawl space in California, and he's not able to remove this thing. Like the wildlife people, like you can't move this black bear that's like torn up the bottom of his house. The black bear ate the gas line, and the guy has no heat in his house. And the like wildlife people, like, yeah, you can't remove the bear. It has to come out on its own.
Can I just say that there was once upon a time where you shared a story about a bear in a porta potty?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I have never been able to use a porta potty the same way again.
Well, also, like we've done
especially in New Hampshire.
Yeah, we've done multiple stories about the guy that was up in Maine that his kink was to like go into underneath the porta potties.
Oh. In case you forgot about that one, everybody.
That guy got arrested twice for doing that.
Good God.
Yeah,
there's 2 fears for when you sit down on a porta potty to be wary of.
Yeah. So anyway, this poor guy, I feel bad for him. But all that plus Nick's going to break down how the Adirondacks and the Olympic range in Washington State, which is thousands of miles away, used to be connected. Plus we've got recent hikes on Jefferson and Adams, Liberty, Flume, Moosilauke, Willey Tom Field in Avalon, and sledding down. I sledded down the Cog this weekend, Nick.
I saw some of those videos. They look pretty impressive.
We'll talk about it. It was a little, I think it was a little risky on my part, but I survived. All this plus recent search and rescue news. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get started.
Let's get started!
So we're gonna hear from our friend Christina. Nick, I have been injured, and I was sick, and then I was injured, so I haven't been able to run. So I need to listen to Christina to get motivated to get going again on my exercise routines.
Yeah, there's no time like the present with the new year to get those New Year's resolutions, and Christina can help you.
True. Da-da-da-da.
Hi, I'm Christina from Wild Raven Endurance Coaching. I work with athletes of all levels, from hikers to triathletes, helping you reach your goals with personalized guidance. With years of experience hiking, mountain biking, and trail running across New England, I also have a deep knowledge of the New Hampshire 4,000 footers and the surrounding trails. Whether you're a beginner hiker or a seasoned athlete, I'll guide you towards your goals, reducing injury risk and improving your performance through smart, tailored coaching. Are you looking to transition from hiking to mountain running? I'm here to make that journey easier too. My approach combines strength training, mindfulness, and life balance on and off the trail. Let me help you find more joy in your sport while getting stronger and healthier along the way. Visit www.coaching.christinafolsick.com and start your adventure today.
All right. Well, thank you, Christina, for that, and definitely reach out if you're interested. So, Nick, just starting off here, I have a bunch of reminders. I always hear, Megan, you're not a winter hiker, are you? Or do you get out in the winter?
Not as much. I'm a skier too, but I do enjoy winter hiking. Yeah.
Okay. So
I did Cabot and the Horn in December, I think is when it was.
Okay. All right. So good. You've been getting out. So I think
and you're getting close to your finish. Right?
I have 3 left.
Oh, you have 3 left. Man. What do you have left?
Yeah.
I have Owl's Head, which I'm hoping to do this winter, and then I have Carrigan and Cannon. I was gonna finish on Cannon because of this gondola that could take my family up.
Right.
This is the plan for
years. That won't be open for like 2 years now. Yeah.
Yes. So I got to rethink that. Now I'm toying between the two. So we'll see.
Well, let us know if you need an army of people to break trail for Owl's Head. Let us know. Paul will be happy to go out there.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
Yes.
The only thing that happens is
Mike might not be.
Yeah. I was gonna say every time one of us goes out to Owl's Head, we get injured. It seems like so.
That's true.
Maybe Paul's up next.
That's true. Nick got a.
Have you bled on Owl's Head yet, Paul?
Just my soul bled out.
Yeah. Nick got a microspike to the face, and then I snapped my pinky in half out there. So we'll see. Megan, maybe we're not the best people to go to Owl's Head.
It's really not that dangerous, but apparently it can be.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think my point with asking that question was that a lot of people, like, if you're not a winter hiker and you're looking to like stay in the game, there's a couple of things here that you can think about doing. First of all is a reminder for everybody that it's the beginning of the year, so now's a good time for you to reorder your Hike Safe card. At the end of these episodes, we always do the search and rescue news, and believe me, if you got to get in the newspapers for search and rescue, the what you want to make sure you do is it's bad enough that you needed a rescue, but call if you need a rescue. But if you can at least say that you have a Hike Safe card, then all is forgiven. And we usually will give you a good thumbs up because you had a Hike Safe card and shit happens.
Yeah, I look at it if in the same mindset of I haven't been fishing as much lately, but if you're buying a fishing license or any sort of recreation license, it's kind of the same deal. It goes to a good cause. And it's funny, I was talking about this with our friend Peter, but I'm surprised that like Fish and Game doesn't just email blast everybody's email at the beginning of the year or the end of the previous year, because I feel like I always kind of forget, and you'd think they'd want the revenue.
Yeah.
Maybe they need an IT person. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they could, we've talked about this before, like they could definitely market, like they should market it at the rest stops, and they could market it at,
that'd be perfect.
A bunch of different locations and just sell it at different places, but they don't. So they could sell it at Yaya's.
There you go.
So anyway, so we've got that. There is also the Mount Washington Road Race Lottery is opening up on February 10th. So I'll put the link in the show notes in case you want to sign up for that. I know that people like to do the Mount Washington Road Race. For some reason, I have it in my head. Somebody had mentioned that they were reducing the number of runners this year. I'm not sure. I don't see anything specific on the web page here. But the random selection will be opening on February 9th. You can register, and then it closes on February 23rd. And then they will select the lottery winners, and they'll notify them by email on February 26th. So if you're interested, just put a reminder, and then you can also check out the show notes, and we'll have the link for the info page as well as the link for the lottery. And like I said, I think that they're reducing the number. A couple of years ago, they had a big crowd up there in really cold weather, and I think maybe they're just trying to lessen the number of people that are up top. And then what else do I have here, Nick? I've got wilderness first aid classes. So if you are not hiking right now, but you want to stay in the game, this is actually a good option for you. So Conway, you've got solo schools right there. People travel all over the place to come to Conway and solo schools. So we're lucky to have it so close by. But there's a whole series of wilderness first aid trainings. These are typically done over a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday. So they're usually like 2-day commitment, and they've got a series of classes. Some of them are full, but they've got some classes at the end of January. They've got a winter.
Pretty much every weekend, pretty much they've got something. Yeah,
pretty much. They
pretty busy.
They do have like a winter survival class too, which I don't know exactly what that is.
It's cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. It is a great resource. It's really cool that we kind of have that in New Hampshire.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at potentially one of these classes in April to do. I got a text message from a friend who had said that their friend was doing it, and I may look at doing this April class if I can get it. So
cool.
Excellent. And then last but not least, Nick, our favorite thing to do is trail adoption. So I'll put this in the show notes, but you can definitely reach out. AMC Trail Adopter applications are open, and then we'll link to the other volunteer trail opportunities. So if you want to check out, like if you don't want to go through the AMC, you can go through the Chicora Mountain Club, you can go through the Cohos Trail, Dartmouth Outing Club, Randolph Mountain, Squam Lake, Waterville Valley Athletic and Improvement Association, Wanalancet. Any of those organizations are happy to have volunteers. So we'll include links in the show notes. And we've talked about our trail maintenance adventures here on the show quite a bit. And it's definitely a rewarding thing to give back. So that's it, Nick. You got the Hike Safe card. You've got Mount Washington, Wilderness First Aid, and Trail Adoption. What are we missing?
So I think the only thing we're missing is if you are up in New Hampshire and you happen to be local, unlike us massholes, volunteer for search and rescue teams. They're always looking for people and they're looking for help. And I'm sure there's always something that they can find for you to do if you're interested and you're in good hiking shape. So we very much appreciate our search and rescue teams up in New Hampshire and how they work in coordination with New Hampshire Fish and Game and the other authorities. So it's a new year, so maybe think about it.
Yeah, I do see like Pemmy and Lakes, not so much. I don't know. I don't follow Androscoggin as closely, but Pemmy and Lakes for sure. Every once in a while, they'll have a call for volunteers. And I think that the deal is you do like a shakedown hike, and then you get on the list, and then you got to show up, and you keep showing up. And over time, like you'll become part of the crew, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of those shakedowns are all in the spring. And I did want to mention too, like you can adopt obviously for the AMC now, but typically most of the trainings and certifications all sort of kick off around the May timeframe, a little bit before Memorial Day. They'll send out a bunch of communication on that as it gets closer, and we'll let you guys know.
Yep. Excellent. All right, so now we're moving on to some New Hampshire news. So Megan, did you know that New Hampshire, are you in New Hampshire or Massachusetts? I can't remember.
Massachusetts.
All right,
yeah.
So four massholes sitting here talking about New Hampshire.
But am I the only one with New Hampshire blood?
Yeah,
then?
but you.
I always forget that you're from New Hampshire, Paul.
Oh, that's true. I guess you give us the credibility. So you're living in Mass, but you're a New Hampshire
holding
native.
It down.
Yeah, I went the wrong direction.
Yes, but New Hampshire was so Governor Ayotte just made an announcement that New Hampshire was ranked the healthiest state in the nation. And she said that our quality of life is unlike anywhere else, and I'm proud that we continue to lead the country when it comes to health and well-being. So I feel like that's a great thing to brag about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, it does kind of feel like one giant playground. There's so much to do activity-wise, from skiing to biking to hiking to anything you can think of. It's so fun.
Yeah, I agree. And then this is a Twitter announcement, and as expected, all the comments are like, I don't believe you. What's the proof? All this other stuff. So I don't know. Hopefully Governor Ayotte just has her notifications shut off, and she can just say, like, look, somebody told me we were the healthiest state. I don't know what the source of this is. I'm just going with it. So, all right, Nick, what is this next one here? Did you put this one in here?
So I didn't throw this one in. I think Stomp did, but I do sympathize with it. And it's kind of an article just talking about how LED headlights have kind of taken over the car market. And it's mentioning in here that basically the average brightness of headlights has like doubled in the last decade. So if you're thinking that car headlights look brighter on the roads, I know that's a thing. I think as you get older too, your eyes get a little bit more sensitive to that stuff. But it's not just you. They definitely are getting brighter. I think a lot of times too. Even, what's interesting is I had my older car that got totaled. I had my Mazda, but it had the adaptive sort of headlights where it would go on to like high beams and off. But even those things don't work super well sometimes. Sometimes you're like already blinded if you're the oncoming car before they actually like shift down. And it kind of was just mentioning how like a lot of people are sort of calling out for the National Highway Administration to kind of maybe put some regulations around this. And a big issue too is with aftermarket LEDs that people put in their cars, which I definitely have friends that did this more like probably college age. But you don't realize it can be really dangerous for people oncoming, especially if it's super dark and then you're getting flashed. Like it can be kind of a bad situation.
Yeah, I just actually noticed this. I feel like most of my car, like my wife has like an SUV and I drive a Forester, which is a little higher up. Like I don't really know, and I don't drive at night that much, but I've definitely noticed. So I didn't notice for a long time this issue. I've heard people complain about it, and I kind of was like, it's not that big of a deal. What I noticed is when I bought my daughter a new car, so she got a new Honda Civic, and those things are like really low. And I had to drive it. I was in Florida, and I had to drive back from the Villages to Vero Beach. And I noticed it big time because like half the people in Florida have these trucks, and they're like pointed upward, so you could see the LED lights like crazy. But being down low in a traditional car, I noticed it a lot more.
Yeah, the article kind of goes on to mention that there's a lot of different loopholes, I guess, in the manufacturing of these types of lights where they can kind of make them as bright as they want. There's not really a good like standard for like I think of like a hiking headlamp, like there's lumens and you can kind of measure them. Like some of these are over like it's like 10,000 lumens or something crazy. So it's probably brighter than anybody ever really realistically needs for driving a car around. So kind of an interesting topic, and definitely something that happens in New Hampshire when it's dark and you're trying to drive around, you get blinded. Sorry, Megan.
No, especially because there's like not a lot of street lights, so it's like right in your face. But you know how like you can't have a certain amount of tinted windows? Mm-hmm. I feel like this could perhaps use some regulation because I often feel blinded. But I also drive a 2013, so there's no high quality lights on that car.
Right, yeah. I just, the older I get, I mean, I'm getting old now, but I try to avoid driving at night. First of all, my eyes are terrible. And second of all, I can't, even if the lights are normal, I find that I still can't see that well at night. So I'm always so paranoid. I hit a deer years ago, like probably like 6 or 7 years ago on the highway going like 75 miles an hour. And ever since then, I think I might have like post-traumatic stress about, I won't drive in the left-hand lane in the highway. And I'm always super nervous, even driving in the middle lane at night, that I'm going to hit a moose or a deer because they can happen. And it did happen to me, and it's pretty scary. So I don't love driving at night, period. So stay safe out there, people.
Yes. And try not to blind people with their high beams.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So this next one here, this isn't really a New Hampshire story, I guess, but it's more of a national one here. So, this is related to search and rescue. So I think Stomp put this in, Nick, or did you put it in?
Nope, I didn't actually put that. All right.
So Stomp put this in. It's there's a story here that the U.S. government has been moving to ban drone technology, and this could potentially impact more and more. We're seeing like private search and rescue drone operators that are actually helping find, mostly I see them in my area for lost animals, but there's certainly some cases where private drone operators have helped with human search and rescues or elderly, patients that might walk off and things like that. But the U.S. government is, the FCC specifically, is putting Chinese manufacturers, DJI and Altel, and some other Chinese drone manufacturers on the federal covered list, which basically stops new models from being sold in the U.S. until they get approval. So the rationale for this is data security concerns. Washington does not want Chinese-made drones on U.S. networks, and it's connected to sort of broader tensions. The ban does not shoot down every Chinese drone immediately. Existing previously approved models in people's hands are not banned right now. This is more about future models and parts. So I went on Amazon. You can still buy the drones. So I think this is more about future. This could potentially shake up the overall drone ecosystem. There's a lot of hobbyist businesses, law enforcement, and emergency services that heavily rely on DJI, which is a major manufacturer. So operators are nervous about this around supplies, upgrades, and long-term reliability. And this is basically what the government's trying to do is foster homegrown drone makers so that they can fill the void if the Chinese drones are ultimately restricted. So you can still fly these existing drones. The new models is where there's a big question. And ultimately, like I went on to Amazon after reading this, Nick, to see if I could actually buy a U.S. built drone. And there's like one manufacturer.
Wow, that's impressive. I didn't realize that many. I mean, I know China in general just generates a tremendous amount of electronics that we consume, but I wouldn't have thought it'd be like, I think this says like 80 or 90% somewhere in that ballpark of drones that are currently for sale use parts from that company. So
Right. Even the U.S. ones that are supposedly built in U.S. use components that might be built overseas. There is a French manufacturer, I forget the name of it, that I think competes with the Chinese companies, but even then they're more of a niche supplier.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's interesting to keep an eye on it because more and more, I think drone technology will be the hasty search solution for search and rescue. And I think smaller drones are probably going to be the future as well that can go up and down these trails that are tree covered eventually. So we'll see the technology get better and better.
Yeah, and it's always good. I mean, especially in situations like I forget who we were talking to, but like might have even been at the Full Conditions event. But when they mentioned sort of like say rock climbing rescues or situations like that, where it's really difficult for rescuers to get up or maybe identify someone, like drones are really well built for a purpose like that.
Right. So, all right, Nick. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And I was actually pricing out the drones on Amazon. And I used to look at these things and they would be like $1,000, $1,500. Now it looks like you can get a really nice drone for a couple $100.
It's not bad. Yeah. One of my buddies just bought one and has messed with it a little bit. And it seems like they're pretty durable too. It's not like a lot of them are pretty user friendly. It's not like you need to be an expert to start learning with it and be worried about breaking like a couple $100 right off the bat. Like they're pretty durable and you can bash them into stuff and they kind of, the propellers or whatever will fall off and things like that to mitigate.
I'm scared though now. Now I'm scared to buy the Chinese stuff. Let me ask you guys this question. What if, remember when I forget what country it was, but they had all these guys that had pagers and Israel figured out a way to insert bombs in them and they all blew up. What if China is putting in that same stuff into their drones and we don't know it and it's all going to explode at one time?
That's a great
Scary
conspiracy.
Stuff.
Yes.
I mean, they definitely found devices like smart home devices that are just randomly calling back to some IP in China. That's definitely happened before.
Yeah. We're all
It's kind of
doomed.
unsettling.
Yeah, this is TikTok.
I do like.
That's why you go hiking.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just go hiking and not worry about
Just
this
go in the
stuff,
woods,
so.
you'll be fine.
Anyway, well, I'll let you guys know. If I do buy a Chinese drone, I'll have to scan it for bombs somehow. We'll have to figure that out.
You're going to end up on some government watch list.
I hope not. All right. So moving on to some fun New Hampshire stuff. Nick, what is this? What is this about the Conway Scenic Railroad plowing tracks?
So Stomp sent this to you and me, but it is, I agree with him. So he kind of was saying that it's a satisfying video watching the Conway Scenic Railroad plowing the tracks. So I don't know if you guys have seen this before. It's worth looking up, and we'll post a link to this. But they have a giant plow that they attach basically to like the front, I guess, engine train. I don't know a ton about trains. We need our buddy Andy to talk about this. The COG does the same thing, But basically, it has this giant sort of shell plow on the front of it, and you just see this like train just blowing through like a couple feet of snow, and it is like there's something very soothing watching how it just butterily, I'm making up words, how it cuts through the snow in a sort of butter-like fashion as it's sort of clearing its way up to Crawford Notch. It's kind of cool, and it looks very wintry and holiday-esque when you think of like Santa and trains and stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a big like V that cuts through the snow, and it looks pretty intimidating. So I don't know. I've been to Conway Scenic Railroad. I haven't seen this snowplow engine before, so I'll have to go check it out next time I'm in there. And I usually stop at Ben and Jerry's and then walk over to the rail yard and check things out. So, excellent, which should be good. And then next up, we did a report on some young bucks. Paul, back when you were a young man in New Hampshire, did you guys ever go out and drink in the woods and get into trouble?
I wish I had some great stories for you. Unfortunately, I do not. Yeah, these guys did a nice job of it, though.
So, did you ever go drinking in the woods?
I was a little mama's boy, so
well behaved.
Didn't happen.
Megan, did you ever drink in the woods? Did you guys ever have keg parties in the woods? Or you're young? You're much younger than I am.
Not really. I think I can't say too much. Just like, what if my parents are listening?
That's true. So, you were an angel. So
I was an angel.
Anyway, well, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a little older, or Gen X, but I spent a lot of time getting drunk in the woods.
Just a great statement in itself.
I just spent a lot of time getting drunk in the woods growing up.
Back when I was a kid, that's what we did.
And it was actually, I was kind of, even though these two on Monadnock, they needed a search and rescue, I kind of was like, well, the world is healing itself. These young men are just walking around drunk in the woods. That's a good sign for this generation. So, but anyway, Backpacking Magazine did an article about these two young men that one of them was, and it actually got pretty serious. He was in a bit of trouble with hypothermia and whatnot. But essentially, Backpacker Magazine is indicating that I guess Fish and Game indicated that they were looking at this one and they may end up billing him for a rescue. So I don't know what the bill would be. Probably not that significant. I think that they had to get the local fire department to help haul him out of there. But anyway, misadventures of young people.
They were making memories.
I love it
for sure. And maybe we'll touch on that again later in the search and rescue news. They had a little bit more detail on that.
Okay, excellent. All right, so next up we got some national news. Nick, you got anything good here? Or there's nothing good in these stories, but interesting, I guess.
So this snowboarder, Willey Tom, who had been basically an Olympic bronze medalist back in 98 and 2002 in the Winter Games, recently passed away. So a very sad story here. Keston Holtz passed away on the 13th. And actually died by being trapped in an avalanche in the Lochschental, I apologize again for the Swiss words here, valley on Sunday while snowboarding with a friend. So he's only 50 years old, so a really sad story, Olympic medalist here. Obviously an experienced guy. I'm sure they would have been going out and ensuring that avalanche conditions and everything was favorable before venturing out. But I guess it just kind of shows you that when you're venturing sort of into the backcountry and sort of these different places that anything can kind of happen. So sad.
Yeah, that's not a good story for sure. I don't mess around with the avalanche territory. Although I have a story. I did go across a snowfield over in Jefferson. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking. Like even those little snowfields in the White Mountains, like I can't imagine messing around in Switzerland. So, but all right, this next story here, Nick, this is another national story. So Joe Kalidasa sent this over to us. Thanks, listener Joe. A woman was killed in a suspected mountain lion attack while she was hiking along the mountains of northern Colorado on Thursday in what would be the first fatal attack by one of the predators in the state in more than 25 years. So the attack occurred in the mountains south of the small community of Glen Haven, about 7 miles northeast of Estes Park, and considered the gateway to the eastern entrance of Rocky Mountain National Park. A couple of hikers encountered a mountain lion near the woman's body along the remote section of the Crozier Mountain Trail, which is on a national forest. The hikers threw rocks at the animal to scare it away from the immediate area. One of the hikers was a physician who attended to the victim and did not find a pulse, so that's got to be a horrifying scene. Details of the woman's injuries and cause of death were not immediately released. I'm going to go with probably got death by a mountain lion, based on the article here. But they said that they had done a search for other mountain lions in the area, and I want to say, I feel like they might have captured one of them or killed one of them, and they were looking for another one. But they did. The news article does stress that mountain lion attacks are rare. In Colorado's last suspected fatal attack was in 1999 when a 3-year-old was killed. So unfortunately, it does happen. But it's more common in California. But Colorado, apparently, they've got around 4,000 of these things. So got to be careful.
Yeah, I'll always think back to when me and Ash did San Jacinto a couple of years ago. They had signs like right on when you get off the tram, and it was kind of ominous because it's like, oh, they're rare and they don't usually happen, but it was also like, oh, they can be watching you and you're probably not going to see them. So like if one attacks you, you're probably going to have no idea until you're pretty much cat food. So fairly terrifying. Yeah. Glad we don't have them in New Hampshire anymore.
It's funny you should say that, Nick. Because I
might get in arguments with people there.
Yeah, well, the story reminded me that there's been a couple of sightings in New York. So if they're in the Adirondacks, chances are they could make their way into New Hampshire. So there was one sighting of a mountain lion, and these are credible sightings. These are not people.
Yeah, I remember this one from the summer here.
This was like in June or July. This was in Rochester, New York. There was a viral video of what is absolutely a big cat. Now, I don't know if this is a big cat. You know, sometimes you got these people that have these like lions and tigers in their apartments in New York City. So it could be that this was like a big cat enthusiast. I feel like upstate New York, maybe they have people that are into that. But this may be the best guess is it was just a stray mountain lion that came over from I guess the West Coast or the Western Mountains. So they got one shot of it on video, and they were reviewing to see if they could locate it. And then a couple of months later, in October, they got another sighting in the Albany, New York area of a big cat. So they don't know whether or not it is it's the same mountain lion or not, but pretty high confidence based on the long tail that it is another mountain lion. So they're in New York potentially. I know that there was a mountain lion that was killed on a highway in Connecticut probably about 10, 15 years ago. So they do make their way out here.
Yeah, I know usually, like you said, Mike, it's ones that come from out west, but it's kind of interesting that these animals have such a large range that they can migrate like hundreds and thousands of miles and kind of end up out here looking for, I don't know if it's prey or territory or whatever. I imagine like one mountain lion needs a lot of land to basically live on, like a moose or something like that. They're not like a duck or something.
Yeah. And then in more rare animal news for New York, upstate New York, researchers also confirmed that they had tested this animal. They thought it was a coyote, but they had tested this animal and confirmed that they had located a wild gray wolf in New York State. So this is in December of 2021. The animal was shot by a deer hunter and killed, thought it was a coyote, and then when they weighed it, they realized it was much bigger, and then they conducted DNA analysis, and it came back with a confirmation that it was a wolf. So they were, I guess one of the researchers that did the testing said that it's an exceptionally important piece of physical evidence of occasional dispersal of wild wolves in the northeast U.S. from core breeding areas in eastern Canada. So the specimen will remain preserved in this museum's mammalogy collection in perpetuity, where it will be available for future study. So gray wolves can make their way into the northeast. So I just can't wait until we get one in New Hampshire.
Yeah, wild. I'd gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole, like, and I mean, it's a pretty common theme too. Like you hear, like even I think Monadnock has stories about farmers lighting fire, trying to drive out gray wolves and stuff like that. But I think primarily they were hunted and driven out because they'd eat livestock, and they were kind of a problematic from that standpoint. And that's kind of why they got eliminated from the northeastern U.S. But really beautiful animals. You see pictures of them,
right?
But maybe I wouldn't want to see one alone on a trail.
Yeah. Have you seen, Mike, there's all that conservation land in Reading, Mass. There's some coy wolves that cruise around those. Have you seen those? The hybrid coyote wolves?
Yeah, and I've heard various stories around that area of people that have been stalked by. There was an issue, I think, in Reading or North Reading of people getting stalked by. They had a pretty large group of coyotes, and they were stalking people that were walking their smaller dogs. So, be careful out there, people.
Yikes.
Let me see here. What else do we have? So, we talked about beers. So we're going to talk about beers a little bit. So, this California homeowner is just having a terrible time. So, this news article came out on December 30th. There's a California homeowner who he's now at the point where he's threatening to sue the Department of Fish and Wildlife because they're not assisting him in removing a 550-pound black bear under his house. So this guy, Ken Johnson, like he really needs to see. He's got one of these houses that has a crawl space, and he really needs to secure this crawl space. I don't understand why he's not doing that, but they discovered this massive male black bear had taken up residence in the crawl space of his $1.5 million Altadena home just before Thanksgiving. Fish and Wildlife in California attempted to capture the beast. They call it Yellow 2120 is the name of the, that researchers tagged it, and that's what they called it, Yellow 2120. They're trying to bait it and put noise on there, and apparently there was 2 bears originally, so they trapped the first bear and moved it out of the way, and then they said, like, okay, we're done here, and the homeowner was like, no, I've got cameras on this thing. I can see it downstairs. So the department released the smaller bear, but they still wouldn't help him with the larger bear. And he said he put a burglar alarm with foam so it makes a clattering sound. And then he burned CDs with hours of dog barking audio and pointed the speakers into the vents of the crawl space, hoping to scare the bear. And then I guess he basically gave up. He's like, if I kept track of everything I've tried, the bear would be beating me 14-0. So there's no. What would you if you had to scare a bear out of a spot? What would be a good to play?
I had no idea. I have total empathy for this guy. Sorry to tangent, Mike, but you know, I grew up in southern New Hampshire in a very old home. 1750 was built. And we had a crawl space that went the entire length of the house. And we had a skunk that got in there. And it was spraying. It was sick, and it was spraying nonstop. And my dad used to go to the library, and he would research different ways to try and catch a skunk. So, like, he must have tried 25 different things. We went down in this crawl space one night, and my dad had read to spread flour, and so we were spreading flour, and the purpose of the flour is to see where its tracks were going. And we're down underneath in the crawl space. I'm holding the flashlight. My dad has got this giant bucket of flour that he's spreading around, and I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I'm just like, I'm like, that can't be it. That can't be it. And I turn and shine the light on and there was the skunk. It was like more than half dead sitting there, and I was just like, my dad was hard of hearing, and I just start screaming, skunk, skunk, and I take off. I'm the one with the flashlight. Leave my poor dad underneath the house with the skunk, and so I feel for this guy and his bear problems, because it was quite a harrowing experience having the skunk spraying our house for like weeks on end. Oh, no. It was in our skin, it was in our clothes.
Oh, like, my gosh! We'd
go to school and people were like, "Who the hell smells like a skunk?" And I'd point at some other kid. Like, I might not have drank in the woods, but I could like play off a skunk.
That's a rabid, smelly skunk. That's scary. So yeah, I had groundhog issues under my shed when I first moved here. I fenced it all in so they can't get under there anymore. But at one point I did accidentally have a heart, and I accidentally trapped a skunk, and I called around to exterminator guys to say, like, look, I got this skunk that's trapped in my have a heart. Can you come get rid of it? And no one would. They're like, no, good luck.
So what we did was, and we had a problem with a lot of skunks, So my dad could have written a book on it. We would drive over to the town next over. My dad had found this hill, and we had a big family. We had one of those giant 70s show station wagons, and we had the skunk in the Have-A-Heart trap, and he would back the station wagon up to the top of this hill, and then hang the Have-A-Heart trap over like the tailgate of the car, open it up, and the skunk would just go flying, rolling down the hill. And
then just hit the gas and go. So, wow. Good luck. Well, this guy is not having as much success as you and your dad did. So the guy's his last name's Johnson. He's like, I feel very defeated. I feel like it's all up to me. I'm supposed to watch my phone when he comes out in the middle of the night, or sleep in the kitchen and listen for him every night. He said, I can't do that. This has gone on long enough. It's something that they should deal with. It's a tag bear. They've dealt with it before. They're choosing not to euthanize it, and now it's back, and it just keeps on doing this. The spokesperson for the Fish and Wildlife said that they're committed to helping him, but that, it's an unsecured crawl space, and they've set up traps, installed cameras and lights for remote monitoring, and worked to haze the bear from the property, but it's not working at this point. So apparently the bear has shredded all of the plastic and the gas line underneath. It's a complete mess under there. He was forced to shut off his gas on Christmas Eve after he captured the video of a broken pipe. He says he hasn't had hot water since that happened, and he's just exhausted. So he's $1.5 million, $1.5 million home with no heat, no hot water, because this bear is going in there. So I don't know. I would wait for the bear to come out and then just seal that whole thing, stand there with a gun, and make sure that it never came back. But there's video of it crawling out of the crawl space like it could care less. So,
like you said, probably just gotta have sympathy for this guy. Where it seems like he's threatening to sue the department. I would question what is the department actually doing if they're just telling him. You think they would be taking care of this, and they said that the bear was captured in Altadena previously for having issues and was tagged and stuff. So you think shouldn't you be trying to do something maybe about it, if that's kind of why you guys exist?
So we'll monitor the situation. Hopefully this guy gets a solution. All right, Nick. So moving on to, you want to do a little segment here on the Adirondack. So I know you love the Adirondacks. I've never been there, but I feel like I know a lot about them now. But why don't you break down how the Adirondacks are connected to the Olympic Mountains in Washington State?
Yeah, so this came off of an Instagram video. I failed to find the account that I found it from. I probably could look back in the story history. But it kind of made this bold claim that the Olympics and the Adirondacks are sort of distant geological siblings. And he explained that this is a 30-second video, but I figured maybe I'd kind of do a little bit of research on my own because it sounded like a kind of interesting claim. So kind of first off, so the Adirondacks, a lot of people think they're part of the Appalachians. I think many people think, and even me, I actually read, I think somewhere that they're part of the Canadian Shield, which actually isn't necessarily true either. And they're kind of a geological anomaly because they're actually not part of any mountain chain next to them. So the Canadian Shield or the Appalachian Mountains, they're not actually related or a part of any of those. And the Adirondacks themselves are actually a roughly circular dome-shaped uplift, more or less, in the Earth's crust. And basically, they're slowly rising. And this rock's very, very old that the Adirondacks are made of. It's estimated to be 1 to 1.3 billion years old. It's over twice as old as the Whites, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit later. But the relationship between the Adirondacks and the Olympic Mountains and how this video sort of went about explaining it, and the distant sort of siblings, is the Olympic Mountains out in Washington, though the geological reason for why they're uplifted is different than the Adirondacks. I could get into that, but I don't understand geology super well, and it'd probably be really boring. But they're also an unassociated sort of chain of mountains. So they're not related to, I believe it'd be probably the Cascades over there or the Rockies. I think it's kind of Washington State's kind of known for, that's sort of their big mountain ranges. But they're sort of their own independent thing that exists separate from those mountain ranges, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think a lot of people you talk to think that, or just assume sort of the Adirondacks are part of the Appalachians, but they're not. So I thought that was kind of cool and it was interesting. And that kind of went down a little bit. So have any of you ever heard that the Adirondacks are shrinking from anybody?
I know that the Adirondacks and the White Mountains are considered like way more ancient because they're lower elevation and that that means they're older. So it would make sense to me that they used to be like these big jagged tall peaks, and over time they've shrunk. So it would make sense that they'll continue to shrink.
Sure. So that claim, again, I was in this whole like rabbit hole, I guess, but I kind of looked up that claim and it's interesting. So the Adirondacks are shrinking, but they're also rising at the same time. So it's in this sort of equilibrium state of elevation. And what it is that they're actually getting pushed up basically from the earth, but they're also getting eroded by weathering and rain and things like that every year. So that effectively means they stay about the same height. The difference with the Whites and the Appalachians is the Appalachians are just sort of getting eroded. They're actually not being really pushed up any further. So they'll continue to sort of weather away over time. And to your point, Mike, they were both much bigger than they are nowadays. And the reasons that we have these sort of jagged looking peaks, even though some of these peaks are like, again, Mount Washington compared to stuff out west is really small. But they look very jagged and have this really rough terrain because of glaciers basically raking them during the last ice age. So interesting stuff. Again, just kind of saying how a range was out west was related to the Adirondacks. They're not really related in a sense of like, oh, they were part of the same thing, but they're both sort of this weird phenomena that can cause these mountain ranges to sort of rise up, not from sort of tectonic collisions, which is really how the Appalachian Mountains were formed, or like the Rocky Mountains. Yeah,
they say that this area is like the most ancient mountains around. So they may be smaller, but they're older.
More history.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Cooler.
Are you ready for Slasher's Beer Review?
Good stuff there, Mr. Nick. So moving on to gear review here. Did you put this one in here, the Stigma Racer?
Nope, this is Mr. Stomp, our resident snow sledding expert, I believe. Or no, this is actually butt sledding, my mistake.
Yeah, this is butt sledding. So I'll talk about the these are like ride-on sleds where they actually have a steering wheel. So I don't know how realistic these would be for going down the cog, but they have these different versions of Snow Sonic or Snow Racer Iconic, and it looks like they do actually have braking on these, so that might actually be helpful. But they have little crampons that you can push down on them and a steering wheel. So I would try to take this up to Mount Washington.
I feel like you'd get going way too fast on this thing if you tried to go down the cog.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about going way too fast down the cog and conditions and all that stuff. But the only thing that's interesting to me is that if these have brakes on them, which it looks like they might, that might help. Yeah. So, but this is a little too heavy. I prefer the Swiss Bob sleds that we have.
I am also seeing that the maximum user weight is 90 kilograms and perhaps 7 years old. So I'm not sure if we would be allowed to use these.
Well,
it's 90 kilograms to pounds.
What is it, 180
Yeah, you could.
Or so?
That'd be a large 7-year-old, but...
Oh, okay. So maybe it's saying minimum 5 years old or 7 years
minimum.
old.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
Right.
They say it kind of a weird way.
They do say it. I read it and thought the same thing, Megan. Yeah. Well, that's recommended age. These look like you could really... Yeah, it's odd to say recommended age, but you also can fit like a 200-pound human on it. So
yeah. Pretty cool concept.
Yeah, they said that they all come with a sturdy steel. So these things are heavy, sturdy steel frame and a brake. Which I would like to for fun, I would like to test one of these just to see how it goes. But
and the steering wheel.
They have a steering wheel too, which is interesting. So I will say that when we were sledding down the cog this weekend, I'll talk about it more detail. We stop right at the middle section where they have in the winter the cog goes about halfway up, and they have like a bonfire and a little area where people can hang out. So we stopped like right there. We finished our sled. They were all watching us come down. So you felt kind of cool that you like sliding down, and then they're all like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And they were looking at because the sleds are so small. They were looking at them, and one of the people was asking like, "What is that thing?" And we were just showing them the little sled. So it's fun. But if you rolled up on one of these things, you'd look like a real hero. So, but it's called the Stiga Racer, and we'll put the link in the show notes here for people to check out. And I think that's it, Nick. This is the time of the show where you do a music minute.
Sure. So I thought I'd throw it back. I wanted a good album to start the new year, I guess, and also to win Mike's appreciation and get on his good side when I drop an indie artist next week.
This is right up my alley.
Before you start griping about an indie artist next week, potentially.
Yes.
And I do have a relation between the two of them. But anyways, yeah, we got Bat Outta Hell by Meatloaf in 1977. So this album, pretty iconic. I don't know, too, and I don't know how, like, Megan, did you know this album? I think we're probably in the same age ballpark.
No, not really.
No, you don't. Okay, maybe I just know it because of my parents. I'm like, I don't know how well known this album is if you're like 35 or younger or something like that. It's a very popular album. I always knew it. When I think of this album, I remember my dad used to play this on cassette tape when we'd be driving up to New Hampshire to the Whites, like in the summer. For some reason, he had like particular albums he'd be playing like on the cassette. I guess this is like vacation music, like good mood music. You're not like actually listening to it when you're kind of stressed out or something. But this album, produced and written by Jim Steinman, who I believe has gone on to do a lot of different sort of theatrical writing and musical theater. And this album's kind of known for a blend of rock opera and musical theater. It's a super dramatic album. It's got a lot of different sort of themes with love and romance and kind of, I guess, just stuff young people are getting into. Generated a bunch of singles. It wasn't super popular out of the get-go, but it would go on to still be one of the best-selling albums of all time. And especially just not even specifically in rock or anything, just any album that's ever been produced. Some of the hits off it are Bat Outta Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And my personal favorite, you took the words right out of my mouth. And this album just has a huge legacy. I encourage, if you haven't ever listened to Bat Outta Hell by Meatloaf, go check it out. It's super well produced. I think it holds up really well, even though it came out in 1977. And it certainly was, I think, sort of the thematic album. Probably like my dad was born in 1959, so kind of came of age in the 1970s. It was sort of one of those just iconic albums, like any of the Led Zeppelin albums or something like that. Like a lot of people listened to it, and I think it was like his album that my dad was kind of into collecting vinyl, and he said that Bat Outta Hell was difficult because people would put it on at parties. And people ended up spilling beer on it and doing all sorts of stuff because everybody like knew that album and loved to listen to it. So,
yeah. And this album is so basically, if you grew up in the times of cassettes and records and CDs, like Bat Outta Hell was always at the record stores. It actually spent over 10 years on the Billboard 200 album charts. It was crazy. On there, and It basically was on there from the late 70s all the way into the late 80s. And I mean, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights and Took the Words Right Out of it. All those songs were like just on the cassette tape all the time, constantly for us in high school.
Yeah, and I described it. It really is it's kind of like a musical, even though it's not to a musical or any like piece of theater, but that's really how it's written and kind of in the spirit it's in. But it's also got like these sort of driving rock ballads and songs and guitar, and it's a really cool piece of music.
Yeah, and Steinman's interested. So Meatloaf with Jim Steinman, when you listen to a Meatloaf album and you listen to this Bat Outta Hell, the derivative from what they wrote for Bat Outta Hell and what he later wrote in his collaborations with like Air Supply and Bonnie Tyler and Celine Dion. I mean, he wrote songs like Total Eclipse of the Heart, Making Love Out of Nothing at All. It's all coming back to me now from Celine Dion. It's all the same kind of vibe and feel. And that's all Jim Steinman, one guy. So
yeah, that's cool.
And he's kind of a tragic guy because he always wanted to be a star himself. He tried to be up front and do his own albums, and he had kind of fallings out with Meatloaf over the years, and then they would come back together, and he never really could become that sort of famous guy on his own. He was always the collaborator. So kind of a tragic story. I think he passed away like a few years ago.
Jim Steinman or Meatloaf or both?
Steinman. Both of them did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great album. So you did a wonderful job in your choice, Nick.
Thank you.
It is almost the 4-year anniversary of Meatloaf's passing. So I thought without seeing the script, Nick, I was like, maybe he's going to do something Grateful Dead-ish for Bob Weir's passing. And so I looked at, for some reason it like brought, and then once I saw the script of Meatloaf, I'm like, oh, maybe it's because of Meatloaf's passing. And so the anniversary of his passing is January 20th. He passed in 2022. So just a weird timing coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up Bob Weir's passing away too, which is unfortunate. But truthfully, I just ended up I'll try to pick stuff that I'm usually kind of listening to be like truthful. I'm not just like trying to just pick. I mean, I could just pick things, but I do try to pick stuff I've been listening to running or whatever. And for some reason, this album sort of, I think I'd had it on shuffle, and then like Bad Out of Hell came on, and I kind of just was like started listening to the album again.
Well, I appreciate it, Nick. I expect some crappy indie music next week or something that I hate. That seems to be the pattern, but
we all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
But I want to give a shout out to listener Judy, a friend of the show. Judy and Marley are always on the Alzheimer's hikes too. So she sent me a Christmas present this year, and it's a holiday themed dad joke book. So I got some dad jokes here. Ooh. So Nick, how did the polar bear get so far from home? He lost his bearings.
Oh man.
Yes. What do you call a snowman's prison? A snow globe. Mm-hmm. Okay. How does a penguin build a house? Igloos it together. See, Megan knew that.
No, I've definitely heard that one before. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, that is a good one. That is a good one. So I got my dad jokes here. All right. Oh, yes. Yeah. Get your free stickers at Ski Fanatics and Spinners Pizza Pal. Nick, I didn't do the order yet. I gotta do the sticker order.
All right. Well, we'll have stickers for everybody when Mike orders the stickers.
We will. We'll do that. Well, yeah, I'm going to try to, I want to get up to this event that we're talking about on the 7th with stickers. So I'll do that this week.
Yes.
But you can get them at Ski Fanatics and Spinners. And then if you want Slasher swag, it's too late for Christmas presents, but you can get your, you can get people Valentine's Day presents.
Exactly.
You can get Slasher swag.
They make
Valentine's Day.
Great presents for Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, April Fool's Day, Easter.
Yep.
Anything you can imagine.
I don't think we have bright red, but you can get a maroon sweatshirt.
You could talk to us.
For Valentine's Day. So anyway, and then if you want to donate to Slasher to pay for all of our equipment or to pay for, to help donate money to buy stickers, you can go ahead and check out Slasher's Buy Me a Coffee and donate to the show and give us money. Huge thank you to Daryl Solo for his donation and
Senator Daryl Solo.
Yes, Senator. Yep. So, so thank you very much, friend of the show, great guy.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking on this week's Beer Talk.
And then now's the part of the show where we talk about what beer we're drinking. So I can start with the Clouded Judgment from Reckless. I already talked about that, but is anybody else drinking a beer tonight that they want to share with the listeners?
I've got a non-alcoholic Guinness that I have tonight.
I've heard those are good.
They're pretty tasty.
Okay. So
I had
doing the dry January.
Oh yeah, dry January.
Doing dry January.
You have tea, Megan?
I have tea, but it's in my Sherpa Ant mug, so I felt like that was fitting for the night. But it's like a wild berry zinger, I believe, is the flavor. It's good old tea.
That'll work. Mm-hmm. That'll work. And then Paul's got a cranberry seltzer, it looks like.
Raspberry lime.
Classic.
Okay.
Good choice.
Right. So, all right. I actually got a beer tonight. Yeah, I figured you guys would be drinking, but I guess not.
What do you got, Paul?
I figured I'd give it a shot. I even got a head start. I started on the December 30th, so 14 days in.
So kind of related to beer talk, I did want to mention that our friend Forrest reached out to us so we could plug this, and it sounds like it's going to be a great event. But the Mountain Wanderer is actually partnering with Feathered Friends and doing a Mountain Wanderer beer, and they have a release party actually coming Saturday, January 17th. So basically the day after that this episode will be dropping. It's on 231 South Main Street over in Concord, and basically going to support the Mountain Wanderer. So pretty cool that he's doing a collaboration. And it sounds like maybe they might be doing something further north with the release a bit later. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, we'll put that
Is that a brewery in Concord?
Yes.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I know Feathered Friend is like they sell sleeping bags and down equipment. It's an equipment, but I've never heard of the brewery. And the picture they have is, I think that's Forrest carrying a beer mug, right?
Yep, that's what it looks like. It's a spitting image of Forrest.
It is. It looks good.
Or maybe Steve Smith when he was a bit younger.
It's it's like Forrest, but Simpsons version of Forrest.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
Excellent. All right. Well, now is the part of the show where we talk about recent hikes. Nick, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You can go first. I think your hikes date back a little bit sooner, and I want to hear about this epic finish that you had for our friend Lynn's 48.
Right. So frequent listeners of the show will know Lynn Sweezer. She's been co-host. She's been on the show a bunch of times. She's involved in Hiking Buddies. She's part of the Alzheimer's Association and has been involved in all kinds of support. Emily's Hike, everything to do with the White Mountains. She's a great person, and I was honored to be asked to come with her to finish her 4,000 footer list. It wasn't a winter 4,000 footer, but it might as well have been given the conditions. So it was a great crew. Jakester joined us, and Nick from Bergen joined us, and then friend Steve joined us along with Lynn. So there was 5 of us that headed up, and the plan was to hike Mount Jefferson and Mount Adams as a traverse. So we started from the Cog Railway, and then we were going to finish in Appalachia. A little bit nervous about the weather forecast for this one. This was on December 14th, and the weather conditions weren't great. They were saying we were going to be mostly in the clouds with like sustained winds, 25 to 45 miles an hour, with gusts up to 70 miles an hour. And there was going to be some early clearing, but then it was going to drop back into the clouds. Weren't moving at a super fast pace, and we had to break trail going up Jewel, and we lost visibility in a couple of spots. So it was slow going across there was some snowfields and stuff like that. So I think that the way that I break this hike down is like we started in the morning, we broke trail up the Jewel Trail, which wasn't too bad. The section above tree line, when you break up above tree line from Jewel Trail up to the Gulf Side Trail, that was tricky. I'd never done that in the winter. So the problem with that section is, and I don't know, it's probably about a 1,000 to 1,200 foot climb above tree line to get to Gulf Side. The problem with that is that the Jewel Trail is tough to navigate, and if you're on the trail, it was already kind of broken in. You could step on the existing monorail, and it's not a problem. If you stepped off the trail a little bit and you lost your bearing, then you're falling in. So it was a little bit of zigzagging to navigate. Towards the top, we were able to kind of cut off the Gulf Side because it sort of forces you to do like a 180 turn the way that trail's set up. We were able to cut a little bit of distance off, and then the wind really hit us going from the top of Gulf Side over to Jefferson. That distance is always way farther than you think. Like you're looking at the summit and you think like, oh, it's right there, but that's clay. And then you got to go up to Jefferson, and the climb up to Jefferson going that way in the winter with the wind in your face it's more than you realize. And Nick, me and you are going to be doing that hike this weekend, so we'll remember. But the problem too is when we got to Jefferson, visibility went down to like nothing. So it was a little bit of, we sort of said, all right, we all have to stick together and stay close and just help with the navigation. I think by that point, once we hit Jefferson, we were originally going to do Madison as well. We talked to Nick, and I think we all agreed at that point that Madison was off the table given the conditions and, you know, the pace that we were working at, because it was just slow going because we're going into the wind. And it was just a little tricky. And then coming down Jefferson, once we dropped down about 600-800 feet, it cleared up a little bit, and you could actually see out to the northern presidentials and get a good view. The problem we ran into with that section is that we had to go across a snowfield, and there's a lower snowfield before you get to Edmonds Cole that you've got to go across, and the conditions were tricky because the couple times I've gone across that snowfield, there's been a good snowpack, so you could sort of like kick in with your snowshoes and go across that snowfield. And it's probably, I don't know, it's not even like an eighth of a mile across, maybe a tenth of a mile across the whole thing. The problem with this is that the snow wasn't deep enough for you to kick into, so you were slipping on your so I was able to hold with my upslope snowshoe, but I was slipping with my downslope snowshoe. We didn't have crampons. I don't know if crampons would have helped in that scenario anyway, because it was just, the snow wasn't packed in, so it was just slow going. You basically kind of dug in with your upslope snowshoe and then hoping that it held. There was a couple of times where I slipped, but if you let loose there, it wasn't going to be fun. I don't think you'd die, but you wouldn't feel so great. So I went across, Steve went across, I went across, Jake went across, and then Lynn was a little bit nervous, rightly so. So her and Nick came across, and then they made it through. And then once we got down into Edmonds Cole, there's a climb up to Adams. We got to Thunderstorm Junction pretty close to Adams, and then that's, again, it got whiteout conditions kind of. We had to stay together, and the wind was in our face. And we got up to Adams. It was pretty windy, but we did a little ceremony for Lynn, and she was pretty happy. It was a bit emotional because it was, I think it was her mother's birthday when she finished, so it was a pretty touching moment, even though the conditions weren't great. And then at that point, we made our way down to the hut. And surprisingly, we had to make a decision on Adams. One of the interesting things is, and Nick was great. He sort of like was making the call for us and validating me and Jake's thoughts all the time. We decided we weren't going to go down airline because it was just tough to find it. So we just doubled back the way we came so we could navigate a little bit easier. So almost easier kind of going back to Thunderstorm Junction and then heading back to Gulf Side from there. I lost Gulf Side coming down a little bit. I went too low, started heading down towards Great Gully a little bit. Great Gully a little bit, but then I got back on track. Nick, I think Jake actually saved us on that one. So every time somebody sort of messed up, another person stepped up and kind of saved us. But it was mentally exhausting because of the route finding, because we had a lot of wind in our face and low visibility. And but it was a confidence builder because we stayed warm even in tough conditions. It was probably like minus 10 wind chill, and then we had 25, 30 mile an hour wind gusts pretty much the whole day. So, but it was a hell of an adventure, and Lynn kicked ass. We got down to Appalachia, and Julie and Cindy and a bunch of friends met us there with like hot chocolate, hot cider, and it was a good way to finish.
Yeah, it's epic. I was looking at the pictures and glad you guys had a safe day, and it sounds like you guys had some serious teamwork. I know I was like curious. I remember texting when you guys got back, like what you did on Adams, because I've thought many times being on Adams with like the visibility, it seems like in snow, like it'd be really hard to go down airline that way unless it was like busted, because it's just the cairns are everywhere. Like I think most of the time I come down there, I don't even follow the cairns a lot of times if it's a clear day. Try not to trample on stuff, but it's it's really weird how it like goes on the side of Quincy Adams and then it kind of swings back down and then it goes up again.
Yeah.
And you also have like a bunch of like car-sized boulders and stuff before it. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty solid. Like I was in my mind, I was like, yeah, we're going back the same way we came. And then Nick and Jake and Steve were all sort of the same mind. And I think that there's just a couple of big rock hops that you have to jump down on that upper part of Airline too that we didn't want to mess with. Yeah. The nice thing about coming back sort of away from Madison is that it's more of a level climb down and you don't have to do those rock hops. And then it's kind of the same calculation of when you're at the top of Tuckerman Ravine going up Tuckerman Cone versus wrapping around and going up Davis Path. It's just an easier approach and you don't lose much time. So
cool. Well, congrats, Lynn, again.
Yeah. Shout out to Lynn. She kicked ass for sure.
Yeah, yep. She crushed it. She was like, I remember every weekend or every few days, she was like running through all of them, the last ones that she had to do. She was killing it.
Yep, yeah, and her son was there too at the end at Appalachia too. So yeah, we had a great crowd to come in. It was like I was hurting by the time we got to the parking lot, but it was great to see everybody. I felt like a new man after getting the hot chocolate in there.
How long were you guys hiking for?
We came out in the dark, so I think we got on trail. We were about an hour late, so I think we started at 8:00. We were going to start at 7, but we got some delays, and then I want to say that we probably got out at like 6 or 6:30, something like that.
It's a long day.
Which I knew was going to be a long day.
Yeah.
So.
God,
especially in that weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then other than that, I road tripped down to Florida. I was in Florida for 2 weeks. I went to a Buc-ee's, which was fun. Which is these big, it's a big road. It's like a rest area, but it's like a private rest area. They sell like beaver nuggets and they do like barbecue food and there's all kinds of like t-shirts and stuff. It's a gas station. So it was very Southern culture, I guess. So, but that was good. And I didn't do much hiking. I spent a lot of beach time and pool time, but I did get out on Saturday. I met Lance and Camilla, who are, they come up on the showcase. I'm going to have them on actually talk about butt sledding. They have been butt sledding on the Cog Railway for the last couple of years. So my daughter wanted to go with her boyfriend Devin. So we just did a quick one. My ankle's been messed up a little bit, so I wanted to test it out. So we did a hike up the Cog to Jacob's Ladder, which is about 2 miles. It's at 4,700 feet of elevation. And then Camilla and Lance and Caroline and Devin did like a little bit of a dance for Facebook, and then Lance had all these Swiss Bob butt sleds, and we sled down. I think it took me 16 minutes total to get down. It took Lance and Camilla 8 minutes of sledding to get down.
That's nuts.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Even 16 minutes is damn impressive. Right. 8 minutes?
Yeah, 8 minutes of sledding to get down, or 8.5 minutes, something like that. But was
that like 3,000 feet? How high is that again?
Yeah, I don't know. We started at 4,700. I don't know what the Cog's at. Maybe 1,800 or something.
That's crazy.
It was fast, but the conditions was scary. Honestly, I was nervous about Caroline and Devin. I was like, stay under control, and it was pretty icy, like not icy, but it was just packed down. So there was no powder to slow you down whatsoever. So the scariest part was Jacob's Ladder to the very top. And we whipped down that. And then the second section is the top part where it narrows. And then that goes down to the bonfire area. That's another steep, fast section. And then the bonfire down to the bridge underneath the tracks is another fun section. It's pretty much wide open and it's slower, which is good. And then the very last section is great because you can cruise. You basically go like 10, 11 miles an hour, totally safe. And then you can just do the last section where you go down the bridge and you can fly down and then stop right at the bottom. But yeah, it was awesome. Good times.
That sounds fun.
So, but I do warn people, like I think, just go into this with the understanding that you have to keep an eye on the conditions. Like if I think the best conditions are when there's snow on the ground and you got some powder to slow you down. If it's icy and there's not a lot of powder, like you have to know what you're doing. Not that I'm an expert or anything, but like I was really stayed within myself. I didn't go faster than I was willing to fall off the sled. So, and when I did get too fast and I was like, yeah, I could be injured here, I would immediately bail off the sled and just fall off and stay safe. So, but there should be some video coming out. I'll post it when I get it. But I think Camille and Lance did some video of us, which is fun.
Cool.
But that's it. And then this weekend we're hiking Mount Jefferson. So we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah. So Paul and Megan, have you guys been up to anything? Say before I delve in. No, Paul's.
It depends on how recent. Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
I've only gotten out once this year on New Year's Day. Sarah Drain and I hit the Tri-Pyramids. That was a pretty frosty day. I think when we got back to the trail, that was out and back from Pine Bend. Trail was in great shape, but it was like a day after, or 2 days after the ice storm. So, everything was just caked in ice. And so it just made it that much colder. Like then,
because you're looking around.
I think the air temp was, 4 degrees below zero with wind chill, but it just felt colder because everything was just so socked in ice. But we made it out and back of that without too much. The trail was in great shape.
Cool.
Just forgot I hadn't been to the Tri-Pyramids that route before, so I just didn't realize what a grind it was up to north from Pine Bend Brook. So every time I thought we were there, we weren't. But you do have that relaxation in between. Getting from north to middle and back is it's pretty easy, and down was not too much sweat. Got out a few times, like right before the New Year. Piers Whiteface did Whiteface with Mike Trokey, your buddy, and the Kinsmans just before Christmas. So, and I did Jefferson the day after, or tried to do Jefferson, Mike, the day after you and Lynn and company did. I felt everything that you were talking about. Yeah. That was a day of a broken snowshoe, so I had to turn around once I got to tree line.
I forgot about that.
I was like, when I saw those conditions above tree line, I'm like, no, one shoe's not going to work here.
It's not going to work. Did you decide to get new snowshoes? Did you get anything?
I did, yeah. I got so I was in TSLs. Couldn't tell you the model for the life of me. I could dig them out of the closet behind me. But I went didn't quite, with 2 kids in college, I couldn't quite afford the MSRs.
Yep.
So I went with the Tubbs Mountaineering. And I think I have 3 or 4 hikes in those so far, and love them. Love them. The bindings are a little kind of quirky, but just especially the heel strap is a little tough to get out of at the end. But so far, so good.
Nice. Well, hopefully you won't have any more issues, but that's good. And then Megan, you mentioned you were out on some hikes, but what else have you been on recently?
Yeah, no, I was just remembering, actually, it was the day after the full conditions event. That's when I did Cabot in the Horn. Okay. It was a very, very long day. I think it was like, I thought we would finish by I think we started at 8. I thought we would finish by 2:30 or 3. We ended up finishing at 5:30. Yeah. And because we did the Horn, that wasn't broken out pretty much at all on the way down. Yeah. So we were wearing our snowshoes, and I strongly despise hiking in snowshoes. I have them. However, I did not invest in good snowshoes. So I learned my lesson as my heel slipped out of the heel strap constantly.
Oh,
yeah. It was fun.
Was it broken from the Horn on down to Unknown Pond, or was it
a little bit? Yeah, but not nearly as much on the way up to Cabot.
Yeah, Cabot's out the Horn. Yeah,
but we had a good group. I actually posted on Hiking Buddies. I didn't think I could convince any friends of mine to do that with me. So, with Hiking Buddies, and then Daryl joined us as a late addition because he was at the full conditions event, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And he was a lifesaver. I didn't have hand warmers, and I was freezing to death at the little hut. My headlamp, I had one, and the battery was non-existent, and I didn't feel like digging through my bag to get the second one. But Daryl had one handy, so he was kind of saving my life.
That's good. I know, and it's I always forget little things, but the hand warmers, I have the electric hand warmers now, and I always keep those in there.
Good idea.
But my pack's too heavy because I keep a lot of extras now. But over the years, you just learn, you forget something, and then you're like, I'm never going to have that happen again.
Yeah.
And But
yeah,
then your
I
pack
didn't
becomes
boil
100
water fully. I had like warm water, but I didn't have like boiling water. So then again, when I'm like freezing to death in the hut as we're trying to eat, I was like, wow, I wish more than anything I had a hot water bottle of tea, and I don't.
Right.
Yes, lots of learning. I think it had been my first winter hike since, the previous winter. So it was definitely like, I forgot this. And yeah, it was a very long day, but
All right.
yeah.
Well, that's a tough, that's not an easy route in good
it's
conditions.
Like 10 miles, almost 4,000 feet, 36 or something like that.
Yeah, my watch said 13. I don't know how, but but the Horn had really beautiful views.
Yeah, that's a great.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
How was it getting up there with like the snowpack? Was it like, did you guys sort of go around the back and were able to pop up there
of the rock
to the Horn? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's almost like a ledge where you can go around it, kind of.
Yeah, we couldn't safely get to the top of the rock if you went like to the left, but we were able to go from the right, and
cool.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was really cool. So yeah, that's about it. I haven't done anything else really, mostly just local walks and whatnot. But yeah, I want to get Owl's Head done this winter. I've actually always been really curious on cross-country skiing Lincoln Woods Trail, saving myself some time, and then like stashing the skis up and down and then put the skis back on. So if anyone wants to do that with me, let me know.
Yeah, that winter route there, I don't know about the cross-country skiing, but if you need a crew, I think that the three of us could definitely tag along for you.
Yeah, well, that would be fun. We'll find a date.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, but Nick, what have you been up to?
So getting up here and there, I had the second, or I guess last third of my paternal leave, which was nice. Kind of a nice thing that my company added this year. So got out a couple times. Back on December 22nd, ended up talking to kind of our crew, and Paul Gamel agreed to first try to do a sunrise on Mount Agassiz, which it looks like Meghan has a nice little sign behind her there for Mount Agassiz, which is cool.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. My sister, if you guys have ever been to Lonesome Woods right next to like Super Secret Ice Cream, my sister's like obsessed with that place.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's where that's from. Yeah. She's like best friends with the owner. But that's where that's from. That's funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, that's an interesting thing to have a sign up, but it makes sense if it's Bethlehem.
Yeah.
But we tried to do a sunrise together, and it's funny. I'm always looking at all the weather apps and stuff, and I'm like, it's supposed to clear at like 6 or 7 a.m. But we got there and it was snowing on and off. It was actually clear up till Franconia Notch that morning. So we tried to go up there. It was kind of snowy. It was a little bit of a bummer, but still fun getting up that. And then we decided to do basically Liberty Flume after that. We both needed them. I believe Paul needed it to finish his gridding of Liberty and Flume, and I needed them for December. And I kind of just like those peaks for proximity to home. But it was a super cold day. It was one of those like sort of single digit, like -20 wind chill days. It was nice just to be able to sort of poke out. The wind wasn't super bad on Liberty, but on Flume it was like insane. Like we lasted up there for, I don't know, like maybe a minute or two. Kind of took some pictures, and it seemed like just the way the wind was blowing, it was almost like funneling up sort of the exposed slides on Flume and just like shooting up over the summit. Like I put a mitten on the ground and it actually almost like blew away. But just super cold. We had like full shells on and everything. Not like if you were staying up there, you absolutely would need like your full balaclava goggles kind of deal. But it is nice with those summits in the winter. You can kind of poke up to Liberty and dive back down and poke up to Flume. Had really good views. Super clear visibility, albeit really cold, but had a fun day. Great trail conditions. That was kind of after we had that washout and then snow, so I was kind of curious, and it was like basically a micro spike highway the entire way. You probably could have used snowshoes between Liberty and Flume if you really wanted to, but great trail conditions, made pretty good time. So that was that day. Almost a week later, got out with our friends Peter and his son Jackson, and then Audrey, Dave, and their friend, and my friend, I guess now, because I've hiked with them, Dan. And we actually did Moosilauke, and we had like a killer day for this. It was like pretty mild temperatures. It was actually a temperature inversion that morning, so it was super weird. Like driving up, you could see the cold air was kind of settling in the valleys. Like I think in Lincoln, I was doing some just photography on the Kank before sunrise, and it was like maybe 9 degrees in Lincoln. At like the Kank like overlook was actually up to like 25 degrees, which was kind of strange. And then the same deal driving back into Lincoln and up to Moosilauke. Like at one point, I think Dave had a little thermometer on his backpack, and like I think it was around like 4,000 feet, 3,500 feet. It was like 40 degrees. It was like crazy. Wow. And it was actually colder again at the trailhead when we finished. I think it was only like 36 or something. But great visibility. And it was kind of one of those days where the wind and like the wet was going to push in as the day went on. So we were kind of on the front end of that, which was really nice. And then I got up to, I've been obsessed, I guess, with Mount Agassiz after being up there before full conditions to try to get clear visibility. And I did get up there afterwards, had a little bit of time before I needed to get back, and got fantastic views out. And really, you can see like just everything from like the Twins to Garfield to Lafayette to Cannon to Moosilauke from that viewpoint up there. And it was really cool there was like fog hanging in the valleys, which I think was probably the cold air. I'll be sharing some pictures of that, but it was just really, really gorgeous up there, and absolutely nobody up there. And I think I didn't mention Moosilauke too. We pretty much got away with spikes, but we had that snowballing kind of action happening on our spikes on the way down, which can be a pain, where it kind of clumps up under your feet, onto your spikes, especially with the hill sounds, because they have like the more base plates. I actually had mine get suctioned off, which was kind of funny. The only bright side of the wet snow was it was perfect for snowballs, and maybe Audrey and me being in the back were throwing some snowballs at people. So I might have got Peter actually once, or it was a big gray jay that sat on a branch. Yeah, we'll never know.
That's great. Yeah, Audrey and Dan had joined us for that Z-Bonds Traverse, so it's good to see that we got out with them. We'd definitely like to connect with them again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We definitely had many laughs, and it was good getting out Jackson again too. I hadn't been out with him since Peter's finish. And then lastly, my first hike of the new year, went up and did Tomfield Willey in Avalon. So again, was kind of curious about trail conditions. And this day too, it was supposed to just get cold through the afternoon. It seems like we've just had a lot of cold days already, December and January. I think it was like around single digits. And then like wind chill was supposed to drop to like the minus 20s by the end of the day. I think one of my friends on Facebook tried to do Jefferson. They turned back because it was just like, it was unbelievably cold, I think, as it was getting into the later afternoon. But this one, I shout out to, I think, Brady Girl. One, we sometimes plug her, and I think we actually have her in a notable hike, but she posted a trail report basically saying that spikes were the only thing needed. So I actually left my car with my snowshoes on. I was like, let me just check New England trail conditions. I had service for the heck of it, and stashed my snowshoes back in the car. And it was an absolutely perfect micro spike packed highway for these three peaks and all the way up to Avalon. The only spot that was drifted was coming down between Field and Willey. There's that spot where it kind of opens up with sort of like almost, I don't know if there's a microburst there. There's like down trees and stuff. And if it's clear, you can see Washington through there and stuff. Some drifted snow over there where I was kind of playing Russian roulette, guessing where the monorail was, and post holed up to my thigh a few times. But for the most part, it was good. But for real, like some of the best winter trail conditions I've seen since I've been hiking. It was just perfect, like super packed. Like I think a lot of this like freeze thaw with a lot of snow this year and the snowpack we have, it's actually kind of helped a little bit where it's like you got some powder just on top of really packed snow and ice. So hopefully it continues. And I hadn't been up to Avalon in quite a while. Even though I've done, I think Tomfield Willey, I think this was my 6th or 7th time. I haven't always got up to Avalon just because of the weather or whatever. And it is like, it's a very short, steep little climb up to Avalon from that trail. I kind of forgot about that. I was going up there. I was like, man, this is like it. Cause it's like, like 100 yards or whatever BS thing that sign says to get up to Avalon. It's like, yeah, it's 100 yards, but it's like a 200 foot up or something off like a ledge, and the ledge was complete ice. So I'm like kind of kicking in. Oh yeah. Like I've been up there in winter, and essentially the only option you have is to just like butt sled down that section and hope you don't die. Yeah, I kind of did one of those, and I'm like, I shouldn't have slid down this, and I kind of like almost could have jammed my leg. Like I ended up being fine. And Avalon Trail from Fields to Avalon's like really good butt. Like I had some good butt sledding, and then I kind of was like, I'm by myself. Like that from there on, you could butt sled if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it because you can get going way too fast. Yes. Way too easily with a packed trail. So that point, I kind of put the brakes, and I'm like, I'm not going to slide down anymore. I don't need to be stupid and like break my leg or my ankle or something. Didn't get, I didn't say fantastic views, but it was a very moody, just like snowing on and off all day. I ended up getting some really cool views out into the Pemi on that. Like there's that one spot, maybe the low point around Willey where you're on the back side or the western side of Willey where you can see out into the Pemi. Could see like Carrigan with some sun rays burning through. And then I got some really cool views from Avalon looking down at Willard for a little bit and then looking back at Willey and Tom and Field. And it was one of those two where you could see like the sun was almost like burning through the snow clouds. Like you could see the yellow sphere of the sun. Really pretty. So it was a fun day and kind of made quick work of them with the trail conditions. So Nick, what I'm hearing here is that the baby has not limited your hiking time. it has, but it being off helped. I think I'll try to get up a couple times a month is kind of what I've negotiated.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, so we had some adventure. Congratulations to all of us. We've been out hiking. It's great.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
All right, so notable hikes here. Nick, why don't you, we only have a few of these, so why don't you run through them? Dave Shits in the Woods is showing up again. Great.
Yeah, and Yaya's is showing up again. I thought this was kind of, it really buttons it together. Dave must have been knowing what he was doing. So Dave Shits in the Woods, our co-host here, Twin Mountain Peak, which is the peak that's right near Yaya's general store that we were just talking about. So he got up to that, then he got up to Dalton Mountain and Dalton Mountain North Peak, which I had to kind of look up where those were. It looks like they had really interesting views from one of them, kind of a cool spot. He did both of those with his friend and our friend we've hiked with before, Liz Fay. And then he also did Bartlett Haystack and Bartlett Haystack North Peak, which it looks like is off the Mount Tremont Trail. I was kind of trying to visualize where this was. It sounded interesting. And that was with Remy Hikes 576, must be a gritter, and Carl Gearford 1990. So cool, Dave. You've been getting out there, doing some interesting stuff. Runcast Run did a run up South Moat. Said great conditions. And then Brady Girl 1, who thanks again for posting on New England Trail conditions. I always try to make a resolution to do that, and I need to be better about it. Bronze Traverse on a warm Saturday, it looked like this past Saturday, for 566 out of 576 of the New Hampshire grid. And she gridded out Z-bonds. So I'm like, that to me is just the fact that I know people do it gridding, but doing Z-bonds 12 times, like doing the bonds 12 times, I'm just trying to imagine that, that's impressive. So congratulations. Right. That's a beast.
Yep. And Brady Girl, effort. She gets our notable hike of the week. So congrats.
Yeah. Congrats.
And there was much rejoicing.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool, very cool.
All right, so Paul and Meghan and Paul, this is your moment, this is your segment. So Meghan, why don't you kick this off with, so for the listeners, anybody that's been listening to us for a while knows that we've been involved with the Alzheimer's Association, and it's been called The Longest Day. It's got 48 peaks. So it's an annual fundraiser that we are involved with here at the podcast, and we've become close friends with a lot of people that are involved in this, with Paul and Meghan and Cindy and Lynn. But Meghan, why don't you kick it off and just give the listeners a reminder about what is 48 Peaks and how can people participate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, so grateful for your support. I know so many of our hikers have found us through the podcast, and I'm just eternally grateful of everything you guys have done, and you guys have had your own team. So it really just goes to show how special and unique the hiking community is, and really love that aspect of it. So 48 Peaks started over 10 years ago, which is crazy to think about, but really started very small with local families trying to hike as many of the 4,000 footers as they could in honor of their loved ones affected by Alzheimer's and other dementias. And it has just grown steadily every single year. We still have 3 or 4 teams that have been participating since the beginning, which is so cool. So annually our goal is to have at least one team on each of the 4,000 footers basically all summer long. It doesn't have to be the same day. Many of them do choose to hike when we have our hiker celebration, but it's, pick a date that works for you and your team, obviously weather permitting. And we've definitely expanded to have a little bit more flexibility. So if you are not interested in hiking a 4,000 footer and you want to hike with your family because this is a meaningful cause to you, but they've never hiked in a day in their life, there's plenty of other options out there. We have a team that does Mount Wachusett every year. So it's been really cool to kind of see the growth of this event and just ways to get people involved hiking in whatever way that works for them locally. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Every year we have about 400 hikers. There's a purple shirt, due to fundraising. So it's so cool to see everybody out on the trails celebrating with their friends and family and together. And, the purple shirt really does bring an enormous amount of awareness to our organization. So yeah, like you said, it used to be the longest day. That was like the parent of 48 Peaks. I don't want to get too technical, but it did rebrand. Yep. So now it's called Do What You Love to End Alls. So you are quite literally hiking, which is something that you love, to end alls. So that's like the parent, and 48 Peaks is a baby version of under that umbrella.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's been great. I was just going to say something else and I lost my train of thought. Paul.
I was going to mention too, you didn't call it that the purple shirts are also awesome moisture wicking shirts. Yes. They work super well, and I love mine for running every year.
Yeah, I think it's...
And hiking.
We see so many people wearing them year round on the trail. It makes my heart very happy.
They pop.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul, you've shared your story and been on the show. You've been on Puds a couple of times, but just quickly from your perspective, can you just give, I guess, the listeners a little bit of background on your participation, and then maybe talk about the team organization aspect? Like if you want to be a team leader or you want to get involved in a team, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah. Gosh, where to start? Yeah. And I want to say +1 to Meghan, and with, kudos to the SLASRPodcast and, everything that you helped do to, really push this event, your participation. Keep me honest. Did you guys approached 5K last year in fundraising?
Yeah, I think so. We had, we had one person that was a big fundraiser. We need to get more people that are big, but yeah, I think Nobby was a big driver, but yeah, I think we were around that. And we ended up hiking Madison, which was an absolute blast.
Great day.
Yeah. So, for the audience, those who don't know, I did lose my dad to his struggle with Alzheimer's in 2024. My dad was one of 8, and he was the 4th in his family that had struggled with Alzheimer's, ultimately passing from complications due to it. We just lost my Uncle Andre earlier this year. He was the 5th in my dad's family with Alzheimer's, so it's something that we've been very close to, unfortunately too close to. So it is anything and everything that I can do for the Alzheimer's Association to continue to raise awareness to the disease, to the great work that the Alzheimer's Association is doing for research for a cure and support programs for caregivers like we were. I certainly tapped into resources to help me through certain points in my dad's decline. Moving him into a facility was really one of the hardest challenges that I had been through. Personally, not knowing how to process it, not knowing how to have the conversation to him when we were moving him. So, really leaned on the resources that were available to me, and I would encourage anyone in a similar position to do similarly. After my dad had passed, I honestly hadn't, previously all my efforts to volunteer and fundraise for the Alzheimer's Association were road races. I'd run some half marathons and run the Boston Marathon. And after my dad had passed is when I stumbled on 48 Peaks, just pure happenstance, running into Eric Todd Sweet one day. And then joining the super team, captained by Lynn Sweezy, and met the likes of you two, Mike and Nick, and Nobby, and a bunch of others that day. It was great to be a participant. Not really knowing what I was getting into, but really great to be a participant, especially like fresh after my, the loss of my dad, just a couple months later. And really look to parlay that experience into joining along with Meghan and Cindy and Lynn and others on the ambassador team. So last year was a completely different experience for me, and nothing against the experience with you all. Captaining my own team So it was really interesting being on the volunteering side and helping organize the event and really having a lot of direct conversations with people that are looking to participate in it, how do other people get involved, and then, that's half my day, and then the other half my day, so to speak, captaining a team and helping out my teammates, which ended up being a lot of my family members. So I had 2 sisters, a brother-in-law, 2 cousins, my niece. It really, again, nothing. I had such a great experience with you all. It was kind of going next level. It was so intimate. I don't think when, we hiked Pierce and for a number of my family members, it was a pretty challenging hike. But, there wasn't a dry eye on the top of Pierce. My sisters and I just, able to share a moment that day. And it was kind of a moment that, all the barriers came down, all the vulnerability was out there. And we had a good cry together on the top of Pierce. And it just brought it again, kind of struggling to describe it really and put it into words. But it really brought it up to a different level, of experience and such, being able to share in that moment with family members and some friends as well. So it was, and then roll down the mountain and head to the hiker celebration. Then just the hiker celebration last year, at Tuckerman's Brewing. This year will be at Ledge Brewing, in Intervale. Being able to, again, so you're surrounded by, keep me honest, Megan, 150, 200 people. I think we're at this hiker celebration last year, and just having conversations and, just sharing in those moments and experiences together. Just, a lot of raw conversations that you're having with folks that have been through it or, are going through it, and, any opportunity to continue to help others, it's truly been a rewarding and amazing experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm all about the hiker celebration. Like, to me, that's the highlight. And, I went to a couple of these already, but the one last year at Tucker, the crowd was crazy. It was, and then they have like the regular people that weren't involved in the hike, but then like our little corner was just packed with people, and it was like everybody sort of, if you didn't know each other, like you just, you got to, I met so many people there. It was such a great time, and I'm even happier to hear that it's going to be at Ledge this year. It's going to be in North Conway, right in my backyard, which is perfect.
Yeah, Ledge will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll have indoor space and outdoor space. So, like, if the weather isn't good, we'll still be there.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah. I feel like 48 Peaks is very metaphorical, and we all seek out nature for different reasons. But, the journey of dementia as a caregiver or the individual living with the disease is very much so like climbing a mountain and the highs and lows that come with that. So I think it resonates with a lot of people to get involved with our event, just in general, looking for a place to meet other people or a place to process emotions. So I think that's why it's been so fun to have all these people involved. And like Paul said, everything we do, all the resources we have are free because of the fundraising dollars raised through events like 48 Peaks. So 24/7 helpline, direct one-on-one care consultations, educational programs, support groups, so much. So Paul and I and all of our amazing volunteers are always happy to chat more about resources available to anyone who's looking for them. So we're always here.
Right. Yeah. And I think about it now because, my parents are in their early to mid 80s at this point. I'm definitely picking up on they're living on their own in Florida, but there's none of the families around. So I'm always sort of preparing myself, being like, all right, if there's not even Alzheimer's, but if there's an illness, like I got to be prepared to get on a plane, get down there, spend whatever, a week, 2 weeks, just kind of working and managing whatever they need. And then add to it, like if they, for some reason, I know people deal with this all the time, suddenly their family members experience dementia or decline, and they've got to figure out like what's the long-term solution. It's one thing to say like, okay, I can manage a week or two and juggle everything with work and my life, but with Alzheimer's, it doesn't give you that luxury. Like you may be talking years to deal with it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it is quite common that like a lot of our participants have family members that live in South Carolina or North Carolina or Florida, and that difficulty in travel makes it much harder.
Yeah.
To navigate. Yeah.
Yeah, and just figuring out like
or the length of time, like you talked about. Like my aunt lived with Alzheimer's for over 30 years. Yeah. And, for her, it was a slow leaking balloon, whereas my dad and a couple of his other siblings, it was a lot more steep a drop,
Yeah, that's tough. But the main reason we wanted to have you guys on was, and again, the hikes, I don't know the exact date, it's usually in June, and then the hiker event is mid-June. So we'll include in the show notes like how you can sign up for a team, or if you want to be a captain for a team, you can access the website. But more importantly, coming up in like 2-3 weeks from now on February 7th, you've got a kickoff event, and Ty Gagne is going to be at the event. So Meghan, you want to tell the listeners a little bit about what you're doing in partnership with Ty?
Yeah. And Paul, let me know if you think I forgot anything. But Ty actually has a connection to the cause. His dad had passed away from complications due to dementia. So he's going to share a little bit about how his dad's journey impacted his writing, especially in writing his most recent book, Lions of Winter. So we're really grateful for his support. I think it's going to be a great event. It's come on, hang out at Spyglass Brewing, which is actually one of our partners. We're grateful for all their support. We'll be there Saturday, February 7th. It's in Nashua in the afternoon. It'll be a great opportunity to hear from Ty, but also learn more about 48 Peaks and how you can get involved, any resources you need. There's going to be food. There's going to be great swag bags if you sign up for 48 Peaks. So anything I missed, Paul?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you buy Ty's book, he will not only autograph it, but the proceeds will go to 48 Peaks fundraising as well. So very, very cool.
Yeah, so nice. Yeah, we're really psyched. It's going to be a great event. So everybody's welcome to come. It's a free event, and you can just register on our website, alz.org/48peaks.
Cash bar.
Yes.
Good beer. Good beer. I'm going to try to see if I can make it. I don't know what my schedule looks like yet, but I think I'm going to see if Mrs. Mike wants to do a night out. Sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, it really should be a great day.
Yeah, we've had some really great response so far, and I think it'll be a really good opportunity to meet new people and learn about their connection to the cause, and get them involved with the Alzheimer's Association.
Got it. So then
I'm going to see if I can get my mom there. So maybe you can meet my mom.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'd love to meet your mom.
Yeah. That'd be good. I guess she's probably got some good stories.
But not about drinking in the woods.
Not about drinking in the woods. Skunk hunts.
Not her, Paul.
All right. So then, just to recap, then, so if you want to learn about the Alzheimer's Association and the 48 Peaks hike, we'll include that in the show notes. So your options, if you want to participate, you can join a team, or you can be a team captain and organize it. Mm-hmm. You're saying you don't have to hike the 4,000 footers if you want to do something, a 52 with a view, or the Belknaps, or Wachusett, or whatever. You've got flexibility, and then there'll be a main day where a lot of the teams will be hiking in June, and then there's a hiker event at the Ledge Brewing. And then to kick this all off and learn all about it, you can go check out Ty Gagne on February 7th in Nashua at what's the name of the brewery again?
Spyglass Brewing.
That's right. So there's so many breweries, I can't keep track.
I know. Spyglass is massive. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been there. It's huge.
Really? I haven't been there.
Yeah. It's a good spot. They've got their own building, and it looks like a lot of fun in the summer. It looks like they've got some really nice outdoor area.
Awesome.
So we'll have to go back.
They've done a couple nice, if you remember on Galehead, if we carried up the beer and
their beer
cheered it on, that was that brewery.
Right.
So I think they gave $25 per.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the same this year, but it was like $25 per picture or Instagram post or whatever.
Nice. Right. Yeah. And the hiker celebration will be June 13th at Ledge.
Okay.
But, like I said, you're welcome to hike that day, that weekend, but not required. So, yeah.
And Slasher, we're going to captain another team, so we'll sign up soon. And then I think it'll be like Nick, me, you, and Nobby will be the tri-captains.
I love that.
All right. We can do that.
Captains. Yeah. So
I did also just want to mention that Paul's mentioned a few times that he's a volunteer, and we have many volunteer opportunities. We always are looking for more people to join. We call them ambassadors because they really are such great ambassadors of our mission. So we're always happy to chat about that. And then this year we have a new executive leadership committee, which is basically all about corporate teams and corporate dollars and trying to bring in some, just help grow 48 Peaks with these connections. So if that sounds like any of you listeners, let me know.
Yeah. If you want volunteer opportunities or if you want to give back. I feel like, people get impacted by Alzheimer's and dementia all the time, unfortunately, especially people my age in their 50s. Their parents are getting up into their 80s, and it's unfortunately, it's that sort of cycle of life.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always remember. I mean, Nobby did a great speech at Madison last year, which was kind of cool about his dad. I don't think there was too many dry eyes after that one. I know I was taking photos, but it was amazing. And I mean, I'll always remember too, there was kind of a moment when we did Yalehead together that Nobby was kind of talking about it, because he was recently, I think one of his parents had passed away at that point, and the other one,
both.
I think, both had just.
Yalehead, both of them were still sick, and then they had both passed when we did Madison.
And I know, Paul, you were kind of going through it, and it was kind of, to me, it really, like, obviously, like, we know it's for a good cause and stuff, but for me, it really hit home. Like, I've gone through my own thing with my dad with lung cancer, but it does bring up those questions of, like, I didn't have to sit there for years and kind of see someone deteriorate and things like that. And it's a special type of pain, I guess. And it's a really harrowing thing that I couldn't imagine going through. And I fortunately haven't had firsthand experience with it yet, but you see how all these people, like, it seems like if you find 3 or 4 people that are over 30, 40 years old, like, they probably dealt with a family member with Alzheimer's or something. Like, it's scary, and it's amazing the work that you guys are doing to help sort of spread the word about it, research Alzheimer's, and kind of make people aware that it's not this, like, sort of an uncommon thing. It's scarily very common, and everybody seemingly is infected by it. If you probably know more than 2 or 3 people, someone's probably been affected by Alzheimer's in their life. So
exactly. Everyone knows someone. Yeah. But we are making progress. There's been some really good research that's happening, and I'm hopeful that some other really great things will come this year.
Yeah, I wanted to hammer home a couple points if I still have a little airtime.
So bring it home, Paul. So this is the final recap. Paul is
I know we mentioned it a couple
fundraiser guy, so I think he's going to push us to plug away.
That might be one of the bullets. I know we mentioned it a couple times, but it is the number one question I get is, does it have to be a 4K? And I lived that with my family members. A couple of them were feeling very accomplished to do a 4K, but never want to do one again. And so not wanting to exclude them from, I'm probably going to end up doing a couple hikes this year, one for those that want to do a 4K, and then one, maybe a 52 with a view or something along those lines. So absolutely does not have to be a 4,000 footer. Do not feel like that is a restriction from getting involved.
Right.
So the other thing I don't think we mentioned, there is no fundraising minimum. However, to get the swanky purple shirt and to get access to the hiker party, there's $125 minimum. Yep. Fundraising. So good point. The $25 just kind of, last year it was $100 to get the shirt, and really no kind of quote unquote entry fee into the hiker celebration, but really an opportunity to kind of cover some of the costs of the event itself, which is a great event. And the Alzheimer's Association really goes all out for it, which is awesome. The third thing, and I completely forget what it is now. Shoot, I had a third thing. I'm going to remember it like right after we sign off.
Of course.
Well, I'll mention, you guys keep capping off. You can hike whatever you want, but I actually did Saddleback in the Horn in Maine, which are 4,000 footers a couple of years ago. But yeah, you can do literally whatever. I think we were like the first team that hiked out probably 2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah, and we had a lot of fun. So yeah, it's very much choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do. And we actually, I think I was up hiking, I crossed the Wachusett team, which was really neat. They had a huge team.
Oh, you saw them?
Yes, I
so
did.
fun.
I'm trying to think if I was hiking with my daughter. It might have actually been with our friends Jake and Julie, and we crossed them. I know it was shortly after.
They go
but it was
up and down twice to like assimilate the 4,000 footer elevation.
Yeah, we talked to them, and I'm like, that's awesome. They basically are just racking up some elevation gains. So they're like, oh, we have to make it worth it and make it like we're climbing that. I'm like, that's super cool. And and I hopefully that bought Paul enough time to jog his memory. I think he did
remember.
It did. And I can't believe we didn't mention it. I can't believe it slipped my mind. We haven't mentioned how you sign up. So to
on the website.
So to RSVP for the February 7th, again, Ty Gagne event, Spyglass Brewing, Nashua, New Hampshire. RSVP at alz.org/48peaks, which is coincidentally also the registration website for the event itself. So whether you're a team captain or participating as a hiker on a team, alz.org/48peaks is your home for both of those. So I'd love to get as many hikers in as soon as possible. We've got very lofty goals this year to beat last year's numbers of 415 hikers and $215,000 raised. So we're looking to up both of those numbers this year, and I think we can get
awesome. There. Yeah, and we'll sign up. We'll get the Slasher team set up early this year, and then we'll just make sure we include that in the show notes if anybody wants to hike with us. If we get enough people, we'll split the team up into two, right? Yeah. And then if we get enough people from that, we'll split it into three. And
that's amazing.
I'll have Nobby take a crew of people on his own, and we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how he does. Nobby's great. So.
That's great.
I actually parked next to him for the Full Conditions event, and I saw his Slasher sticker, and then I saw his 48 Peak sticker, and I was like, why do I know you? And then we had a nice conversation.
No, he's a great guy.
That's good. Nice guy.
And he's really, this family's been impacted severely by this. So it was really touching. Like the last couple of years, just watching him sort of process everything. It's been hard for him, but it's been great to know that we can do something to help.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is great. So anything else before we move on to search and rescue stuff?
I was going to say too, just incidentally, I mean, we've all made a lot of friends, I think, through the 48 Peak stuff as well. So it's a group for whatever. I mean, usually if you're out hiking a mountain for a good cause, like you're probably not a complete disagreeable person. So I'm trying to say that nicely. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to meet some other hikers too and participate in.
I will say that. Like there was people that signed up for our team that had no connection. I mean, I think they were listeners, but like they had no connection, didn't know anybody, and just showed up, and we were, good friends by the end of the hike. So it's everybody's welcome. So this is a good way for you to meet people and network, and like Paul and we've all become real good friends over the years, which has been great.
Yeah, the hiking community is the best, and this is just one way to get together.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, so now let's get through a couple of news stories here for recent search and rescues, and then we'll wrap it up. So these are all stories that happened before or right after the new year. So this first one was a big one. It made the news, and a lot of people on the hiking community, the Reddit site, that place scares me. They were outraged on this one, but things happen. So this was two hikers that experienced harrowing conditions on Mount Lafayette. They went out for a hike. The call came in around 10 o'clock at night. Fish and Game got to them on a hasty search around, I guess, they got to them around 2:30 in the morning. So the call came in, the search and rescue crews mobilized by 11:30, and then they got to them by 2:30. But what ended up happening is it was two hikers, a gentleman from New Bedford and one from Haverhill. They had left for a 9-mile hike. I'm assuming they went up Falling Waters and came down Old Bridle. So they left at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, the 12th of December, and ran into difficult conditions. They struggled to find their way down from Lafayette and made sort of the classic mistake of falling off the trail and heading down Lafayette Brook, it sounds like. So they were able to call 911 for a rescue, and the rescues got to them around, I guess, 2:30 in the morning. It looks like. And they were able to, I guess they were messing around with a helicopter, couldn't get visibility for the helicopter to rescue them, so they were able to hike them down, and they got out around 5:30 in the morning. So just inexperienced hikers. I think they were out for an adventure. They had hiked in the summertime a little bit, but had no experience in winter, so they had frostbite, and they were completely ill-equipped for a hike of this magnitude, started way too late, and lacked the appropriate clothing for the hike, and they were navigating with a phone when they lost a trail. So total disaster, Nick.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people were talking about this one, and I had this one sent to me by quite a few people. This, I think, even made it to some of the national news outlets eventually by like a week or so later. But yeah, I mean, they point out, I mean, everybody knows now, but this was back in early December. And I mean, it's been pretty wintry up in the Whites. I mean, the full conditions event, we did Garfield, and I mean, we were carrying snowshoes with us. So there's been pretty good snowpack up there. It's not going anywhere. Even if you have these mild days, so you drive up to Franconia Notch and you get up to 300 feet or whatever, like it's pretty gnarly up there. And it's full winter conditions, even early in December. So they were lucky that they got down, and big thanks to Pemi and the Fish and Game officers for getting them down, because they were very lucky.
Yeah, they had pretty advanced hypothermia.
Yeah, they were in trouble.
From what I remember reading that story, like, to the point where they were just, lost a lot of cognitive skills, were starting to get very confrontational with SAR and such, just, really not having their wits about it.
Yeah. So there was some interesting follow-ups on that on the Reddit site that I won't get into, but it was a close call for both of those two. The next one here, two young people. So we had talked about this kids getting drunk in the woods. So two teenagers from Winchendon had hiked Monadnock, and they were ill prepared. One of them was extremely drunk, apparently. So they had called around 10 o'clock at night. They had said that, I guess it was three of them, actually. There was three hikers on Ferry Spring Trail on Monadnock. They were able to make contact with the hikers on cell phone. One hiker was trying to aid two hikers that were in distress. The two hikers had fallen into some water and were wet and cold. There was high winds, dropping temperatures, and with their soaking wet clothes, it was a dangerous situation. So Fish and Game went up there along with Upper Valley Wilderness Response Team for a rescue effort. Two hikers were from Winchendon, and they were able to get up there around 11 p.m. One of the hikers was able to walk down. The other one was unable to move and suffering from cold weather injuries. They were able to get him out of his frozen clothes and begin to warm him up. They had started their hike around 5:30 after dark, and the hiker that was in bad condition was also heavily intoxicated. So they were able to get them down by about 2 in the morning, and I guess they charged them with minors in possession of alcohol, and they're going to recommend that they be billed for their rescue. So, hey, it happens. I've been drunk in the woods before, too, when I was that age.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I didn't fall into a brook, though. So,
yeah, maybe not. Maybe just don't do it going up Mount Monadnock in the ice and snow.
So, this next one here is on Black Mountain, Nick. So,
yes, yeah. So we've got, this was back on January 2nd, it looks like. So shortly after 1 p.m., conservation officers were notified of an injured hiker on the Chippewa Trail on Black Mountain. I haven't done the Chippewa Trail. I think I've only done the other side, so I'll have to check that out sometime. The hiker was a 46-year-old from Acton, Mass, and had been hiking with her partner when she slipped and fell on some icy rocks, sustaining injury. So after attempting to continue down trail with their injury, they decided to basically call for help. So her and her partner basically spoke to conservation officers. So COs and some of the PEMI SAR members ended up making a response with some equipment and personnel, and then they transported her basically down the section of the steep icy trail back to the trailhead. And then she was transported to a hospital in Woodsville from there. Just mentions that they were experienced, well-equipped hikers. So this is just kind of one of those slip and falls, and things happen. So Gotta be prepared in case they do, and luckily the SAR teams got to them pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think the Chippewa Trail is that the one that goes across the lime kiln? I think that's the direction I've always gone in.
Okay, maybe I have done the Chippewa Trail. I was thinking of, because there's like two different trails that go up Black, right?
The other one is I forget the name of the other trail here that comes from the other way.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, I mean, which isn't uncommon with 52 with the views, where it's not a huge hike by comparing to like a 4,000 footer, but it is just short and steep and ledges, and the terrain has a couple steep sections.
But the Chippewa Trail is definitely the one with the lime kiln area there. So
yeah, that's a cool trail.
Yeah, and then the last one is pretty straightforward. It's just a lower leg injury on North Pac Monadnock, New Hampshire resident and experienced hiker. He just, I guess, needed to carry out because of the leg injury. He couldn't move, so not a big deal. It happens, but steady rescues though. It hasn't really quieted down that much from December, which is unusual, and a couple in January already. So hopefully it will stay slow and there won't be any more rescues.
Yeah, let's hope. All right. Well, thank you, Paul and Meghan, for coming on again, and hopefully the events have good turnout. I'll try to make it to them as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We're so excited and happy to be here as always. Very grateful for the support.
Yep, I'm excited to get our team started again, and it makes me start thinking about the warm weather, which I like. So until next week, we will we'll see you again.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are?
Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.